I work as a tech lead for Trellon, who are based in the US. My nick on IRC is Pingers, and Twitter, Pingers27. Same for Drupal.org, Pingers. So, tell you a little bit about Trellon. We're a Drupal shop based in Washington, DC, but we operate as a virtual company. So we have developers all around the world working sort of 24/7. We've got some in US, sort of locals, and then there's a couple in Brazil, some like 4 or 5 in Ukraine, 1 in Cambodia, and just me now in Australia. We had one more, but he was acquired. Typically, we do some work with like non-profits, NGOs, and educational institutions like Johns Hopkins or Cornell University in the States. And that's our slogan. Thoughtful, effective solutions for organizations tackling real-world problems. It's a bit of a mouthful, but okay. So here to talk about CRM. So a CRM, for those who don't know, it's a strategy for tracking interactions between parties. So, you know, there's some main actors there, be they be clients, customers, sales prospects, whatever they are. You know, these people are important to you and your business. And so the benefits of a CRM are quality and efficiency in terms of being able to track a lot of information about the people that, you know, drive your business. And so hopefully, with improvements in quality and efficiency, that would lead to profitability. So quite a lot we've seen that there's a lot of demand for CRM systems integrating with websites. And there are a lot of things that a CRM can do that you know, are most efficiently achieved using a system to track contact relationships within your website. So collecting sales leads or registering people for events, you know, all these sorts of things, and, you know, donations, you know, you want to track all this sort of information in one place where you can search for it, track it, do whatever you like with it, you know. Websites are really good at managing users, but a CRM's job, you know, is really to track those relationships and let you query them. Key thing is, you know, understanding who is visiting your site and getting them to come back. So having an effective CRM in place that, you know, you can tailor to your needs, we find is really important. Sometimes collecting data into an external CRM can be expensive. You know, if you have to have a second account for CRM or something, using something like Salesforce, you know, which is an externally hosted solution, and then integrate that with your website, well, that can get pretty expensive. You know, dealing with issues that arise from having a synchronization process in place, you know, can all get expensive and higher maintenance. And you end up with a problem described here as data silos. So that's basically just saying where, you know, you've got information in 2 places and it's hard to integrate the 2. You know, you really want to be able to query that data from one place because it makes a lot more sense that way. So now we come to Drupal's relationship with CRM, and it's a pretty interesting one, and it's been a bit of a rocky road along the way. So the most obvious option, I think some of us would know that CVCRM is very popular, and we've had a lot of success out of using CVCRM. But we find that it does have some shortfalls, and so you'll probably see in this talk that we're taking aim at CVCRM a little bit, but it's not that we don't like CVCRM, it's just that it doesn't fit every need that we have for a CRM. So, you know, like with CiviCRM, sometimes, or other CRMs, you know, the integration is great, but if you need to make some changes, those systems sometimes aren't as flexible as, say, Drupal. So that can be a problem, you know, and can get expensive or result in having to, you know, patch those things directly. Or sometimes if it is an externally hosted solution, well, you can't change much. You've got their public API and that's all you've got to work with. Maintaining CiviCRM can be, or other CRMs can be a problem. Upgrade path, I don't know how many of you have had fun upgrading a CiviCRM installation, but that can be a bit of fun. I think it's a lot better now, but there's a lot of older installs of CiviCRM where you will have issues doing upgrades. And I think using a Drupal solution, we can possibly get around some of those issues. Theming. Quite often in CiviCRM, we find that, you know, some things are harder to theme than they should be. And using Drupal's theming system, you know, we've got a really good system in place for theming. So I think it would be good to use that. Yeah, so Salesforce, CiviCRM, and Salsa, they're all slightly different in what they do, but they have some support in Drupal, some very good. So CiviCRM is pretty excellent, really. Salesforce has a great Salesforce API module, which does some synchronization for you and queuing and everything, and takes care of all that for you, so that all your contacts and everything are synchronized to your Salesforce installation, where you can, you know, use the reporting tools there or whatever you want to do with that there. But then there's some other CRMs like Sugar or vTiger, which is variant. These don't really integrate with Drupal so well at all. I haven't come across an installation of the two, you know, working together. I'm sure there's something out there, but I haven't really seen much in the way of contrib modules that support it. And when it comes to something like that, you know, the cost of that can be a little bit unpredictable, because, you know, there's always some issues like data formats, or, you know, format of an address or something like that, you know, are totally different between two systems. And so being able to integrate them is quite a challenge. So could we do it all in Drupal? Maybe, probably, perhaps. Drupal is ever more flexible, and we can probably do more than just a content management system with it. Some of us probably have. So Drupal 7 introduced a number of things: Entity API, Field API. You know, these are the main things that we're leveraging to rebuild a CRM. And allow us to turn Drupal into something else. There's some really cool things, like in the Field API, you can extend that to allow a different storage backend. So perhaps you want to load your contact database from some external system. You know, you could do that through Field API and have them show up natively as fields, which is kind of bizarre, but you could do it. And there's nothing to stop you trying this in what we're proposing. And there's a lot of things in Core already, you know, that we can reuse very easily to fit our purposes for a CRM. And another great thing in Drupal 7 was that nodes are no longer the primary entity within Drupal. So we can create our own entities, and they're still treated like first-class citizens, so things like views will integrate nicely. So what Trellon's done is an attempt to build a native CRM within Drupal. At the moment, it's a collection of modules, but ideally, they'll be turned into a distribution. So we currently have these modules, things like contacts, organizations, activities, and relationships. So Field Storage API allows you to integrate with things like Search API. And so these, that opens the door to using things like Solr as a search engine, which is very powerful and gives you a lot better performance. We get all the benefit of hooks in Drupal to customize things for exactly what we need. So there's nothing to stop you using those existing entity hooks to hook into the CRM. However, we have to find our own. And yeah, that should open some possibilities to interacting with contacts in ways that existing CRMs just weren't nearly as flexible. So contacts are the basic entity, and so from there, everything else is kind of branches off that. Allows us to track individuals, households, organizations. The real benefit here is that we're leveraging existing contrib modules for things like name, address, and so, some of that heavy lifting is done for us, and as those things improve, it's not sort of holding your CRM back. You can hopefully in the future upgrade it and get these new features as they arrive. So yeah, we have web-based interface for creating custom contact types. So these contacts can be extended. They're fieldable, so you can add whatever fields you need to create your own custom contacts. Activities. So an activity is something that you record against a contact. So there might be several actors in an activity. So multiple contacts or an organization might be involved in that activity, and this just allows you to track that. So the great thing here is views again. You can create whatever view of an activity that you like. So maybe some activities might be something that you would actually want to display publicly on your site. Well, that's easy to filter those out using a view and get what you need out of it. There's an API for automating activity records through Drupal, so we can use all those hooks for those create, read, update, delete operations. Yeah. Relationships. So this is the sort of final component that we've implemented so far, and these are really important. Being able to describe a relationship, rather than just have something very, not so fine-grained, and not very customizable. You really want to be able to describe that relationship in a way that is relevant to your needs from a CRM. So we allow you to define whatever type of, describe that relationship and create new ones, as many as you need to describe the relationships between your contacts. And yeah, makes it quite nice. So we have some views in place, just as a, these are sort of first attempts at what they're going to look like in the distribution, but they haven't come along that far yet. Basic search tools and easily cloned so that you can create your own customized views as you need them. Organic groups is an important one because that opens the possibility to a lot more access control, fine-grained access controls, where grouping contacts and restricting users of the CRM to only be able to see contacts that they should be allowed to see, which might be department-based, or that's up to you to define those groupings. A popular thing with CiviCRM is user synchronization. So when a person signs up for an account on your site, their account would be synchronized with CRM. So we've re-implemented that feature because it's very useful. It's totally optional. You don't have to do it, but generally you want to keep that relationship with your users on the website, so that would be helpful. Maybe for building like an intranet sort of CRM where you're tracking external contacts, well, that's not going to be, that have nothing to do with the website. Well, there's nothing that would be that beneficial about tracking those users in a CRM. So, of course, we've used as many contrib modules as we can, or core modules. So, taxonomy, interface module is another module that Trellon have developed, and existed in some state for Drupal 6, and now it's been ported to 7, and basically allows defining new tabs for that CRM sort of dashboard on a contact. So you can add those views as you need them to those tabs, and makes a pretty slick interface for doing that. Views and CTools, we're all probably fairly familiar with those as tools for building a site. Notifications, so when things change in the CRM, you want to be able to react to that and know about it. So those are totally customizable to what you need. We use extensive use of features module because this allows an easy way to export any sort of customized feature, and allows you to track that in code rather than all in the database. So really, the idea is really just to distribute these modules that handle that base case of contacts, and it's really just a platform for extending. And we're going to package a number of other things that will be useful, but at the moment it's it's a bit of a work in progress, and getting that base functionality in place is really important. So we're sticking to all of Drupal's standard APIs because they're really important for upgrades and making things extendable. It's really important that you try and stick to standard APIs as much as possible. So the main modules within CRM are the core, and everything is kind of broken out into things that aren't in the interface and things that are. So that's why there's these UI modules. Activities, relationships. So we're really designing this to be something to be extended. Innovating around the platform and building modules to make it easier to work with. Interface module allows users to create customized layouts for viewing and managing contacts, such as the tabbed and sort of faceted interfaces, which are, really help with usability. Web form integration, another very popular module, allows an easy way to create forms to just collect information, but also giving that possibility to track that against your users' contacts. Rules and activity integration. So rules is a module to allow you to look at events as they happen and then react to those. So you can configure a number of things like sending emails or creating nodes or whatever it may be that you want to do when somebody adds a contact record or some other operation. The profile module, this is what I was talking about earlier, is a substitute for Profile 2 and basically allows users to self-manage their contact record. So when they change their address, that would also be updated from their in the CRM as well as on their profile page. So there's some resources on where you can find it. CRM Core with an underscore. And in terms of something that, we put it out there and within a day, well, I think 3 days later, California State had somehow found it, university, and had managed to create a few patches and got those contributed back to the community really quickly. So that was really nice of them. And they're currently using it on an internal system for student record management. So that was very encouraging to see just a couple of days after we released it. So I'm just going to give a quick demo. So this is it's a little bit narrow probably for this theme, but we'll try it anyway. Okay, so this is a basic contact interface, just listing the different types of contacts, so individuals, households, and organizations. And what you can't see is the add a contact. So I'm going to add, well, first I'm going to take a look at the administrative interface, and if I can get there. So we can add a new type of relationship. So just going to add one. Apologize for the speed. This notebook's not the quickest. And so we can define a number of things because we're using the relation module. We can define a new relationship. So I'm going to do parent of. It's a directional relationship, and it's an individual referencing an individual. And this may be not the best use case, but it might be something that you want to track if, say, you were doing like a family tree website or something like that. Okay, so we'll add a, ooh, that's pretty good. So let's add a contact. It's an individual. She's a miss. Put Australia, but we don't want to know any more. Okay. So now I've had my new contact, and so relationship, I can say that I am going to add a relationship to me because I am parent of this person. And we can add that relationship. And so this now shows up on my relationships tab. And I'm not sure that it will on here, but it's a bug. It's early days yet. So, I mean, you know, activities is another thing that we can do, but I mean, it's pretty basic as well. So these are the activity types that we've defined. So, you know, an activity has a date. You can add a description and some extra notes there about that. So a title would be something that shows in the list, and then you can add more for underneath. That's around about where we're at. So I guess we're at a point now where, you know, we really need to start building out some more features, and, you know, things like integrating with Drupal Commerce to do donations and all these sorts of things. You know, really kind of crucial functionality in order to build a distribution, but not everybody needs that sort of functionality. So these really core features can be used to build a CRM that suits your needs. So I guess we're really welcoming any contributions from the community if you want to get involved. You know, just start looking at the issue queue and yeah, hit us up on there, and more than happy to look at patches. So any questions?
I have a question about organic groups in Drupal 7. Is that working out pretty well? Is organic groups there? Are you running into any problems?
We haven't really run into any problems. Yeah, we've used it on a couple of sites now, and yeah, it's even more powerful than ever.
Cool. Can you talk a little bit about how you break up the groups in the CRM? Are you breaking up groups per company, or what are you doing there?
Like I said, like we haven't really defined that yet. I mean, that's something that is really up to you. If that's how you want to do it, that's fine. You know, there's nothing to stop you doing that. We'll probably provide some sort of default that you can install, but I mean, it won't be there by default. You know, it'll be like an optional extra to add that permissions functionality in there, because, you know, that's, if you don't need that, you know, it's an unnecessary sort of overhead that you don't want to have to deal with.
Did you base this on research you've done or experience you have with Salesforce and Civi CRM, like the interfaces?
Mostly Civi CRM. Yeah.
So it's quite similar to. It's quite similar to Civi CRM.
I guess, you know, we've based a lot of things off Civi CRM. You know, like the API probably looks pretty similar, but at the same time, it's not designed to replace Civi CRM. You know, Civi CRM has a lot of functionality. Things like reports. You know, that's not a solved problem for users to be able to generate a report in Drupal. Like, there's views, and simple views, you know, was one in Drupal 6, I think. You know, close, but it's going to be tough to sort of replicate that sort of functionality, but we're going to have to tackle that because it's pretty important. So.
Yeah, so I think the first thing I noticed about Civi CRM the first time I checked it out was that it was a lot bigger than Drupal.
Right, it's like over 1 million lines of code.
couldn't believe it. And then getting into it, it was just so top heavy. It was just overkill in every imaginable way. And so, I commend you on making something much lighter and more elegant. And I really like the look of it. I think it might be really useful and really informative to other people who might want to do just some part of that for their client. And they could look at what you've done as well.
Exactly. I mean,
so it's great. And then my question, I suppose, would just be, did you check out TAC Lite, Taxonomy Access Control, as an alternative to organic groups?
I have looked at the module. I guess I haven't looked at applying it to this, but there's no reason why it wouldn't apply. I mean, we're sticking to those standard APIs, so, I mean, yeah, by all means, you can create something that does groupings based on taxonomy that you attach to contacts or organizations, however you want to work it. So. All right. That's it. All right. Thanks, everyone.